Hello and welcome. In this session we're going to talk about lead scoring, and in particular I'm going to show you how to build this lead scoring system here. Now it is very basic, but it's going to give you a good understanding of lead scoring and how you can change this and adapt it to fit your organization. So first of all, let's have a look at a demo of exactly how it works. So as you can see on the left hand side, we just have a couple of checkbox fields. Now you could set your criteria for your lead scoring however you want to, but for me I've just put a very basic 5-point system in place where we have budget, decision maker, interested, suitable and ready to buy. What you'll find is that as we tick these and we save the record, that our scores are actually populated. So if it's true, so if the budget's correct, then the score that's given is 5. If it's false, then it's 0. We then tally the total of these scores up here, and based on that score, we then display an image based on the lead score image, and this will just help our users visualize the score rating of a lead very quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to head into a separate org, so this is a completely different org now where I haven't built any of these lead scoring features. So we'll open up Bertha Boxer, we'll head to details, and as you can see there's nothing in place here. So what we'll do is we'll start by creating the fields. Now we're going to do this in a couple of steps. So the first step is we're going to build these checkbox fields. Next we're then going to build these formula fields here. The third thing we'll do is build another formula field which will count all of these, so it'll add them all together. And then the final bit we'll do is actually add in this image here to the page. And this image is going to change based on what this total lead score is. So here we are in the org which doesn't have anything pre-built. So what we'll do is we're going to head into Salesforce setup and we're just going to create all the fields that we need to. So we'll go to Object Manager, and as we're building this on the lead object, we need to make sure that we're working on the lead object. So we'll just find lead and we'll open that up, and then we're going to go to Fields and Relationships. So on the Fields and Relationships, we're now going to create a number of checkboxes. So the first one, as we know, is budget. So we'll just hit next. For the field label, we're just going to type in budget. Now, normally I would put description and help text in here, but just for speed, I'm not going to bother putting anything in this as we're creating a number of fields. You want to have the default value set as unchecked, and then just click next. We'll click next again, and we'll go to save and new. And for this one, again, it's going to be a checkbox. We'll hit next again. I'm going to call this one Decision Maker. Again, we're just going to leave everything it is. We'll hit next, and then again we'll hit next, and we'll hit save and new. For the next one, it was interested. So we'll put interested in here. We'll leave everything as it is. Save and new because we've got a couple more to build. We'll build another checkbox which is going to be, let me just double check, suitable. So suitable. We'll leave everything as it is. And then again we're going to go save and new, and we're going to build our final checkbox which is going to be ready to buy. So again, we'll just leave everything like that. We'll hit next. We'll hit next again. And then we'll hit save. Now, the reason we're hitting save rather than save and new this time is because I want to make sure that they are appearing on the page as we want them to. So here we are on page layouts. And what we're going to do is just go to page layout assignment quickly, just so we can make sure that we're going to be editing the page that we're going to see, which is going to be the lead layout because we're a system administrator. So we'll open up that page layout here. And as you can see, we have our new custom fields here. But what I want to do is I want to put them in their own section. So I'm going to drag section on, so you can see there, we just drag the section box on. We're going to then type in here, lead scoring. And we'll hit OK. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to set these so they actually display the headers, the section names I should say, on the detail pages, just because for me I like being able to have everything well, kind of categorized or in some form, some order. So as you'll see, we've now made them as sort of viewable on there. What we're going to do now is just drag our fields into this lead scoring section. We'll hit save, and then we're going to head back to the front of our org, which is just here on the lead, and I'm just going to refresh my page. We'll head back to details, and as you can see, we now have it nice and easy. So it's a lot easier to kind of look at now and to get the information we want. And we know there are checkboxes which we wanted. So now we need to build the right hand side. So at the moment we've built this, but now we need to build these. And these are actually quite simple to build. So we're just going to head into setup again. We're going to go to fields and relationships on the lead object. We're going to hit new. And then we're going to go down to the formula field. So this is going to be the formula data type. That's what we want. We'll hit next. Now for the field label, we're going to call this budget score. So we've got that as budget score. And then for the return type, we want to make sure we're bringing back a number. But we don't need any decimal places. So we're just going to set that as 0. So the next thing we're going to do is hit next. So as you see, you'll be brought straight through to the simple formula page. But what we're going to do is switch to advanced formula, just because I find this easier to work with. Now, in terms of what we're trying to do here, we're trying to create a field that when it's set to true, so when this field's set to true, decision maker, it actually populates that with a score of 5. Whereas if it's set to false, it doesn't create any score, it keeps it as 0. So just to confirm, if it's true, it should be 5. If it's false, it should be 0. So how do we do that in a formula field? Well, what we need to do is we need to go down the function side here and we need to find if. So we'll select if, and then what this is going to do is perform a logical test. If that test is set to true, then it's going to give this value, so the value is true. And then if it's set to false, it's going to give this value. So all we need to do is double click on that, click insert field, find the budget field that we created earlier on, and we know it's a checkbox type. We'll hit insert. So the value that needs to show, if it's true, is 5. And then if that box is not true, so if it's false and it's empty, we'll have it as 0. We'll then hit check syntax, and we know that it's working. So just to recap on that, what we're looking at here, we're saying if this field is true, then it's going to give it 5. If this field is false, then give it 0. So we'll just hit next now. Again, you should always put a description and help text in there. We'll hit next again. We'll hit save, and then let's go to our page layout to make sure that our formula field is working. So we'll just go to page layouts here, and as we can see, we have budget score. That's automatically been added to the page. We'll drag that so it's directly opposite budget, and we'll hit save. So now we'll go back to our lead, and as we can see, at the moment I haven't refreshed the page. As soon as I refresh the page and go back to details, as you can see in this case, it's not actually pulled through. Now the reason for that is sometimes Salesforce takes a little bit of time to actually recache itself and refresh the page. If you run into the same issue as what I've ran there, there's a really quick and easy fix. Head to your profile and change the display density to the opposite of what it is. So if it's compact, switch it to comfy. If it's comfy, switch it back to compact. Then if we go to details, you can now see that that's actually showing. And that's just because by switching the display density, it's forced Salesforce to reload that page. So we'll mark this as true. So to test it, we're just going to mark budget as true. And as you see, our formula field is returning the correct value, which is 5. So we need to do that for the rest of these. So again, we're just going to head back to the lead object, into field and relationships. We'll then hit new. We'll hit formula. We'll hit next again. And then for this one, it's going to be decision maker. So we'll have this as decision maker score. We know it needs to be a number, or I should say the formula output needs to be a number. And we're not counting any decimal places, so we'll put that as 0. Then, if you remember, we're going to use the exact same formula we used before, which was a case of this. So we use the if function, which basically it has if, and then it has the logical test. If that logical test is true, give it that value. If that logical test is false, give it that value. So we just need to select our field again, which is going to be decision maker. So if that's true, give it a 5. If it's false, give it a 0. And I'm just going to copy this now. So I've just selected it all. I'm pressing Control and C, or if you're on a Mac, you can use Command and C. And then I'm just going to hit next, and hit save and new. So we've done it for decision makers. Now we need to do it for interested as well. So again, we want a number return type. We don't want any decimal places. And this is going to be the interested score. We'll hit next. We just need to paste that back in there. And like we had last time, we had decision maker. This time we're going to have interested. And again, we'll just check syntax. You can see it's working because we've got all greens. We'll hit next, and then we'll hit next again, and then save and new. So after interested, we need suitable. So we're going to go to the formula field again here. Click next, and this is going to be suitable score. We know we're outputting a number value, so we're just going to set that as number and set the decimal place to 0. We'll paste in our formula from earlier on, and this time we're looking at suitable. So we'll insert that, we'll hit next, and we'll hit save and new. And then this is the final formula field we're going to build before we test it. So we'll hit next again there, and again you saw we just selected formula field, and then this one is the ready to go score. Again, the output's going to be a number. We'll set that as 0. So again, we're not capturing decimal places. We're just going to paste in our formula from earlier on, and then insert field, and we need it to be the ready to buy. And again, we'll have it as insert. So just before I close this bit out, to confirm what we're doing here, we're looking to see if ready to buy is true, then we're going to give it 5. If ready to buy is false, then we're going to give it 0. Again, we'll check the syntax, and if you're building this yourself, I would strongly recommend you put in a description and help text. We'll hit next again, and we'll hit save and new. But I'm going to pause at this moment in time, because rather than going and building the next formula, I just want to see how that looks on the page and make sure that it's all correct. So let's go to the page layouts. You can see we've got them all there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multi-select these. So what I'm doing is I've just selected one, I'm holding Control, and I'm selecting more. And then I can just move them all in one file swoop straight over to here, and job should be a good one. So I'll hit save. I'll go back to my Salesforce org. This is back to Bertha, what we was working with before. We'll hit refresh, back to details, and you can see we've got them all there. So they're all false, which means they're all showing as 0. But let's just set all these to true to make sure that it works. So we'll hit save, and as we can see, it's actually calculating the scores how we want it. So now that we've got that basic bit done, let's add these bottom 2 fields, which if we go back to the completed org, you can see we have a total lead score field and a lead score image field. So all we need to do again is field and relationships. We'll just create new, and the field we're going to create again is going to be a formula field. So we'll just hit next. With this, it's going to be another number output because we're going to look at the total score. And for the field label, we're going to put total lead score. So we'll hit next. Now what we want to do with this formula is calculate the total lead score. So we want to add all of these up. So we want to add budget score, decision maker score, interested score, suitable score, and the ready to go score. So all we need to do is we just go to insert field. We have budget score. So we want to have budget score. We then want to add. So we're just putting a plus symbol in there. And then the next one we wanted to add was interested score. In fact, it was decision maker score, wasn't it? So we've got decision maker score. Again, we then want to add the interested score to that. We want to then add the suitable score to that. And then finally, we want to add the ready to go score as well. Perfect. We'll hit check syntax. So we know that's going to work, that formula. And all we're doing is we're just adding each of these scores together. Obviously, you'll put a description and help text in. At the moment, I'm just going through this fairly quick. We'll hit next. We'll hit next. And we'll hit save. And then again, let's just go to our page layouts here. We'll go to the lead layout. And we're going to drag that total score across here. So we're dragging it from there to under where all the scores are. I just think from a UI perspective, it makes much more sense to have all the scores tallying down here and then just total it up at the bottom. We'll hit save. And then we're going to go back to the lead and let's just check to see if that's pulled through. And as you can see, that's working. So let's just uncheck a few of these just to give it a bit more of a test. Well, it definitely seems to be working. So again, we'll just remove a couple more. And as you can see, that's working exactly as we want it. So now we're going to get to the interesting bit, which is using a formula field to display an image. So let's head into Salesforce setup again, and we're back to the lead object, and let's go to field and relationships. Okay, so the first thing that we need to cover is how you're going to display an image. Well, all we need to do is head into new again. We need to select formula because that's the type of field that we're creating. Only this time we need to select text because a text formula will allow us to display images. For the field label, we're just going to put in lead score image. And then we're just going to hit next again. So this is where it's going to get interesting because we're going to need to use the if statement, or should I say the if function, plus we're going to need to be able to reference the image that we want to use. Complete disclosure, I am not the best when it comes to formulas, and there will be someone who will tell you a quicker way of writing this formula than what I do, but I'll explain my logic behind it so you can at least follow along with my thought process. Well, the first thing that I want to do is, I know that we're going to be using the if one, so I'm just going to input if there, and what we're doing is we're going to have a look at what the total score is. So we're going to go out and have a look at the total lead score, and we're going to say that if the total lead score is less than 5, then I want to display a certain image. If it's not less than 5, then I want to have another argument, or well, another argument, you know what I mean? I want to evaluate it again. So I'm just going to move that down there. Now, when we're talking about displaying an image, all you need to do is just double click to select all that, go across to your function and insert the image. Well, the image function, I should say. And then we have a link for the image URL, the alternative text, and we can then specify the height and the width. Now, I'm not interested in the height and the width in this case, so I'm just going to get rid of that. But I am interested in the image URL. Now, what I'm going to do is I've found a website that's actually got links to the images that I want that are automatically stored in your Salesforce org. And I'm going to link that in the description. But it's just this one here. So it's just a website that I've found. And as you can see, it just gives us the image paths that we need. Now, in this case, we're going to be using these stars. And we're actually going to be giving it 0 out of 5 stars because it's less than 5. So we just copy that path there. We head back to our Salesforce setup. And then in the image URL, we're just going to put Control and F. And what I'm going to do as well is put quotation marks around it. So it looks at it as a literal value and it should pull it through. Now, if that image cannot be displayed for whatever reason, I'm then going to present alternative text so that the end user can basically see what the lead score is. And I'm just going to put that as 0 because we're giving that 0 out of 5. Now what we're going to do is, after we've evaluated that, if that's not true, then we're going to move on to another argument. And we're going to have a look at another if statement, and we're going to say, well, look, if the total lead score, so I'm just going to copy and paste that. So if the total lead score, in this case, is less than 10, so if the total lead score is less than 10, then we need to put another image in. So again, I'm just copying and pasting that. But this time, I'm going to change this and this. So as we know, 1 star just has 1. So as you can see from all these, the only difference you're seeing is that number at the beginning of the 100. So we've got 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500. And they just relate to the number of stars. So we'll head back. And in this case, we're just going to call it 100. So all I've done is just replace that 0 with a 1. And then for the literal value again, or the alternative text, I'm going to put a 1 in there as well. And again, just going to make sure I put quotation marks around there. Then we're going to have, again, another argument. So if it's above 10, we then need to evaluate it again. So in this case, I'm just going to copy. So I'm just going to double click on that again and just insert the if function. I'm going to copy this bit again because we know we're using the same argument here. And this time I'm going to include copying all of this as well. So I'm going to copy the alternative text and the image. So I'm going to paste all of that in here. Now, one thing that we need to be aware of as well is when we're using an image function, we need to make sure we're closing off these brackets. And I've just seen that I've missed one. So I'm just going to add one in there, and I'm just going to add one in there as well. Now with this, we're going to look at if the score is less than 15. And if it's less than 15, we're going to give it the one which had 2 stars. So again, I'm just changing that to 2, and I'm just going to change that to 2 as well. So just to cover that, what we're looking at this time is this one. So again, after we evaluate that, we're going to look at another argument, and it's going to be very, very similar again as well. So if, and let me just copy all this time as well. So I'm just copying that, and we're just going to paste that over that bit. So if the lead score is less than 20, then we're going to display the image, which has 3 stars, which, as we know, begins with 3. Again, we're going to copy this again, so I'm just going to put the if function in. We'll paste this bit again to here. And this time we're going to look if it's less than 25. If it is, then we're going to give it the image, which has 4 stars. And then we're just going to hit enter again. And then if the value is false, we're going to put in this one, so the 500 one. So all we're going to do is just select from this image bit here, copy that there, and then we're just going to place it in here. I'm just going to hit enter. Now I've just noticed here that I've accidentally covered one of the brackets, so I'm just going to close that off. So what we're going to do now is just run through what this formula is actually looking at and what it's doing. Well, the first thing it's doing is it's saying if the total score is less than 5, then display this image or this alternative text if that image can't be displayed. If it's not less than 5, then move on to the next one, which the next one is this, which if the total lead score is less than 10, display this image or this alternative text. If not, move on to this argument, which again will then look at the total lead score. If it's less than 15, give this image or that alternative text, etc., etc. Now, the final argument, what it's saying here, is it's saying that if it isn't less than 25, then we're going to display this image. So I just need to change that because that's 400. So we'll put that to 500 and we'll put that to 5. And if I hit check syntax, you'll see that it's come through as green. It's come through as correct. So what we'll do is we'll hit next. And, don't worry about pausing the video to try and copy that. I'm going to copy and paste it into the description of the video as well. We'll hit next again. We'll hit save. And we're going to go to our page layouts. We'll go to the lead layout. We're then going to drag this lead score image under here so we can see it. And we'll hit save. So now let's see how that works in our Salesforce org and make sure it's worked correctly. So we'll refresh our page. We'll head to details. And you can see it's not come up yet. So what we need to do is go to the profile bit and then go to compact, hit refresh now. Back to details. And you'll see it's now working. So it's now there. So let's test this out. So when everything is set to false and the total lead score is 0, that shouldn't show any stars. When it's when it's got one checkbox, so it's got an overall score of 5, which is less than 10, then it displays that. Then again, if we do it for 2 stars, which will be 10, which works. Let's do it for 3. It works again. Let's do it for 4. It works again. And then let's do it for the top score. If it had 25, which is 5 out of 5. And as you can see, it's working. So that formula field is displaying the correct image when we want it to. Now, you can call these whatever you want to call them, and you can evaluate different things. It's entirely up to how you work in your organization. You can also add a different weight into these, so I've just put them all as 5 for ease, but you could set them to whatever values you want to. And if you really wanted, you could actually remove these from the page. So if we go to lead layout here, and we go here, what we can do is we can just get rid of them so the user can't see them in the end. We'll hit save. We'll just go back. Let's refresh our page, see if it's going to refresh it as we want it to. And you'll see they've gone. So they're still working in the background. So just because we've removed them from the page doesn't mean that they don't work. Now, one thing I always tend to do with this as well is add it to the leads list view, just because it's easier for our users to see. So let's just head to the cog here. We'll select fields to display, and we know it's lead score image there. And then I'm just going to move it up towards the top, but not in front of name. We'll hit save, and you can see it makes it nice and easy for our users to see the lead score. And can you see how that automatically scales as well? So it's quite easy to move and to get working for your users. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. This is part of the Salesforce Certified Administrator course that I've published on Udemy. I'll put a link in again in the description below, which will give you 70% off should you follow that link. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Find me on LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.